Take a look at this. It might seem like a regular blueprint for a building, right? Well, it's not. This is a blueprint for an information fortress, the kind that every single modern organization needs to protect its most valuable secrets. And in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build one piece by piece. Think about it for a second. Your company's trade secrets, its customer data, all those financial reports, that's not just information, it's modern-day treasure. And with countless threats out there trying to get to it, the question isn't if you need walls, but how in the world do you build them high enough? And let's be real, the answer isn't just buying some fancy new software and, crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. Real, solid security is never an accident. It's a system, one that's deliberately constructed. It's a fortress with blueprints, guards, and a plan for every possibility. Now, that master blueprint actually has a name. It's an Information Security Management System, or ISMS for short. This is the whole shebang. It's the framework that turns security from a bunch of random, disconnected efforts into one cohesive, sustainable, managed process. This isn't just a part of the fortress, it is the entire strategy for the fortress. Okay, so every great structure has to start with a plan. For our fortress, that plan is the security policy. And I mean it when I say this. This is the foundation upon which everything else is built. At its heart, an information security policy is really just a formal declaration. It's a document that says, hey everyone, this is how seriously we take security around here. You can think of it like the Constitution for our fortress. It establishes the fundamental laws that everybody inside has to follow. And listen, this isn't some vague, fluffy mission statement. A strong policy is built with really clear steps. First, you have to align your security goals with your business goals, and of course, any legal stuff you have to follow. Then, you actually write down your objectives. Now, this next part is crucial. You have to clearly define what happens if someone breaks the rules. And finally, what good is a law if nobody knows it exists, right? You make it accessible to everyone. So, with the blueprints drawn, it's time to organize our resources. This really means figuring out two key things. Exactly what are we protecting and who is responsible for protecting it. It just makes sense, right? Before you can build the walls, you have to know what you're putting inside. In this world, we call that the information assets. This is the real treasure. The business secrets, the patents, the customer lists, the source code, the stuff that gives your company its competitive edge. Of course, that treasure doesn't just sit in a vault somewhere. It's being handled all the time by what we call supporting assets. This means the servers, the software, the laptops, and most critically, the people who work with that information every single day. They are the most vital part of the entire system. So, how is all this treasure managed? Well, you classify it. Because let's be honest, not all information is created equal. A press release? That's public. But your unreleased source code? That's got to be strictly confidential. This whole system of classification is what determines exactly how each piece of information gets handled, making sure that the highest level of protection is always reserved for your most valuable assets. Now, any good fortress also needs a clear chain of command. That means you need clearly defined roles, and you need qualified people with the right resources to do their jobs. But just as importantly, you have to separate duties so that no single person has too much control. It's a foundational principle, really, for preventing internal threats. Okay, the structure is in place, but a fortress isn't static. It exists in a dynamic world with constant threats. And that means we need a plan for when, and notice I said when, not if, it comes under attack. This brings us to the two sides of defense. On one hand, you've got risk management. Think of this as your scout, constantly looking out for threats to try and prevent attacks from happening in the first place. On the other hand, you have incident management. This is your firefighter, springing into action to control the damage during an attack. And you absolutely need both. So let's play this out for a second. An employee spots something unusual, maybe a suspicious email or a weird login alert. What happens next? What's the protocol? Because just a moment of confusion could be the difference between a minor issue and a major catastrophic breach. This is exactly why a good fortress needs a clear alarm system. That means having a single, well-defined process for reporting anything suspicious. Everyone has to know that it's their duty to report issues, and they absolutely need some kind of confirmation that their report was received. The system has to make it dead simple for anyone to sound the alarm. So, we've built the walls, we've organized the guards, and we've drilled for attacks. But the job is not done. Not even close. A fortress has to be maintained. And this is absolutely critical. Threats are always evolving, technology is always changing, and hey, people make mistakes. Defenses that were rock solid yesterday might not be so strong today. You have to be constantly checking the walls for cracks. And that checking process, well, it's a team effort. You have internal teams that perform regular compliance checks. You have management that reviews the overall effectiveness of the entire system. And then, critically, you bring in independent third-party auditors to give you an objective assessment. It's this multi-layered approach that prevents dangerous blind spots. So if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this. Building an information fortress is a continuous cycle. It's a living system that requires constant attention, constant testing, and constant improvement just to stay ahead of the threats. It's never, ever truly finished. And that leaves us with one final question to consider. Looking at this whole blueprint, the policies, the people, the processes, and the need for constant vigilance, does your organization's security feel like a fortress that's built on solid rock? Or is it maybe standing on shifting sand?